hope that you're feeling energized in your own way. This morning, I have some things on my heart that I definitely want to talk about. There's a lot happening in the world, there's a lot happening energetically, and I just want to bring that to the forefront of the conversation. But first, if you are here and new in the Mystic Magic community, welcome. We do these energy forecast conversations every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. And pardon me, you are welcome to join us live. So we usually like chit chat in the beginning and just kind of talk about what's on our minds, what's on our hearts. And then we open up the floor. You're welcome to attend live, and we will pull cards for you personally. But towards the end of the call, we'll pull cards for the collective. And then this recording is posted in the community later in the evening with the pictures of the cards that Laurelyn and I both pulled. So this is our 5th week. Can you believe it? This is our 5th week of doing this. And it's both of our like favorite times of the week, because it is just like coffee with a friend. And then I think the second favorite time for me is when you guys watch and comment and
Yes.
let us know like what came up for you and how it resonated. Because it just feels like these conversations feel super rooted in us, and to know that it does resonate with you, to know that it does, pluck a chord on what's happening in your world. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing this. So it makes a huge difference. Um, but yeah, that's where I'm at. Laurelyn, is there anything that you want to share or say, or happy February? I just kind of took over as we began.
I mean, I agree with everything you just said.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was channeling your thoughts as well as
Yes.
fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, I the what was on my heart, Laurelyn and I don't know if you're familiar with the Marco Polo app. If you're not, you should check it out. Whoa, see that?
Oh.
Um, coming at you. But it's a video messaging app, and I have used it with I have friends who are like all over the world that I use it with. Laurelyn's in Kentucky, I'm in Texas. I have another friend in Germany. We also use it. I've sent oracle card readings on it. I've done coaching, and you just send videos back and forth, and it keeps them in chronological order. And it's this for Laurelyn and I, it's this very easy way of us communicating in real time. And it feels like, for me, it feels like we're just right there with each other. And I like, sometimes it's while Sawyer's at practice and I'm checking it. Sometimes it's in between meetings. Sometimes for you, like you're in your bed and your beautiful lights everywhere. You're showing me your digital screen of, I can't think of what you called it, but it was like a cozy bedroom in a space station.
It was, yeah, spaceship ambiance.
Yes, I love it. And it just gives you these real insights, real-time insights into each other's lives, and you get to connect personally. So if you have someone in your life that you want to be closer to, want to have that connection with, but texting doesn't always convey, like what you need to say or how you need to say it, and hopping on the phone can be a pain in the butt sometimes. Check out that app because it's awesome. But my point in bringing it up was that Laura and I were speaking on there previously, and every week we kind of just intuitively show up with these conversations for what's going to be said. But there was something very specific this week for me that I felt like I wanted to talk about because it's shown up in probably like 5 different ways. And that is fear. And so, um, first and foremost, I'm like, which one is first and foremost? The state of our country here in the US. And I'm not going to get into details, and I'm not going to be political about it, but I just want to say that changes that are occurring and the speed at which they are occurring is provoking that fear energy for a lot of people. And I know not everybody feels that way. But I just want to acknowledge that there is a layer of energy in existence that was not previously there that certainly plays a role in what we are feeling. Because if you are here, you are intuitive, you are empathic, regardless of where you stand or what you believe in the political sense. That is there, even if you are for what is happening and you stand behind the changes, it doesn't change the fact that there's a large part of the population here in the country that is scared, is scared of the uncertainty of what's going to happen. And you are certainly feeling those layers of energy as they transpire. So if this week, and maybe this week it felt heightened for me, and I know Laura Lynn mentioned that as well, more so than the previous week. So if now you're like, what is going on? And why am I feeling so like just scared of what's happening in my life? Or because it might not, for you, it might not occur as being related to anything globally or, in part, I'm very burpy this morning. I apologize. In our government, it might occur as things that are happening personally in your physical world, I just want you to know that you're not alone in that. I want you to know that that's a collective experience that's occurring, because anytime there's change, especially a big, large amount of change, and there's so much uncertainty around how things will play out or what will happen or when the next shoe is going to drop or how is this going to affect me, um, that is always going to produce the energy of fear. But what I want to remind you of beyond that is that you are a spiritual being having a human experience. And that doesn't mean that we put on our blinders, to everything that's happening in the world. It doesn't mean we ignore it or pretend like it doesn't happen. But it does mean that when you can just kind of sweep that fear energy out of the pathway that's in front of you, just for even an hour, 2 hours, 24, whatever you can do, that it gives you the ability, one, to make space for miracles to occur, to make space for that divine energy to come in and soothe you in different ways. And it also allows you to move more in alignment with what you know is true. And this isn't always an easy thing. Like, I say those words and I know it's like, oh, you just like put it aside and move forward. And I know it's not always that easy. Sometimes our fear is so consuming that it's like the only thing we can feel, the only thing we can think. There's no way to move it out of our space. If you find yourself in those places, I'm going to be a broken record on this every class. Like, one, energy bubble, activate. Two, go to your journal, go to Marco Polo, go to some place where you can express those feelings, because keeping them in the container of your body it's just going to like stir and stew and brew and become more. You have to have a place where you can voice what that is so that it can move on beyond, whatever story or feeling or magnitude, is building inside of you. And I'm going to pause there before I continue forward, because I want to hear I want to hear Laura Lynn's brain.
Yeah. Fear is like my thing. It's like my thing that I've worked with, walked with, thought about my entire life. And I think, recently, you and I, when we've been talking on Marco Polo, we'll be talking about fear, and then we'll stop ourselves and say, okay, is this personal or is it collective? Those two things are often braided together, that
Yeah.
I can be afraid about something that I see the potential of in my personal life, and I'm also feeling that collective fear. I think that fear is often an opportunity, and the it bogs us down when we hold on to it. When, like you're saying, to, have, if we try to have those moments where we clear the path, where we push it, you know, move it, that doesn't mean ignoring it, because sometimes fear is speaking about actions we need to take and things we need to, it's
Yeah.
can a fear can be an opportunity to point to what you are meant to do next, or it shows you your values, it shows you how to build, how to create, but we can't create from the fear.
Yeah.
It's like it's an interesting dance, like of like acknowledging it, and it's real, and it's often showing up for a reason, but how do we get to a place where we can acknowledge it, sit with it, and then let it move so that we
Yeah,
can go forward? Because if we grip it and hold on to it, we can't make change. We can't take the actions to prevent the thing we're afraid of. We can't if we are just holding on to the fear, because the fear just grows and grows and grows and becomes the only thing that you can hear.
absolutely. Yeah, I love all of that. Um, it made me think of kind of like at the beginning of the week was when it was heaviest for me in my personal world. And there were lots of little circumstances that I'm not going to get into the details of, but it was like an incident occurred and it's like, oh no, this isn't working out. Oh no, worry about that. Oh no, worry about, and it coming from all these different directions. And and I did grab it for a minute and I was like, oh my God, like, what is happening? But two things, I posted a quote in the community this morning and it was action cures fear. And I
Yeah.
really do believe that. Like, if you're afraid of a situation, even just like making the phone call to gather more information, or like I said, talking about it with someone that you trust, and not someone who loves drama and gossip because
Mhm.
they're just going to make it worse, but someone who can just like be an open space for you to say the things so you can process and release. Um, and then the other thing that I always come back to is that fear is a lie, because I do believe like I am of divine essence. And even though I feel very human all of the time, and it's harder for me to feel more like a divine being, like a spiritual being in my bones, I know that that is true. And so when that fear comes up, I guess I do have like a visual element to it of seeing it as just this mischievous, darker energy that's trying to distract me, that's trying to lure me, my attention away from all the goodness and greatness of the experiences and like what I'm creating in my life. Um, and if I, not to always go back to this, but in our past week's conversations, I had mentioned that dark space I was in and the serpent energy that my friend and I killed with that giant kitchen knife.
Yeah.
That is the essence of fear energy to me. Like that was me allowing myself to be consumed by whatever that was and believing it. I think that's the most, like, I believed that it was true. I believed that no matter what I did or how hard I tried, I wasn't going to be able to change it. And so now that I have time and periods of evidence to see I did change it, things are different. They do feel different.
Mhm.
When that fear energy shows up, even if it's not identical to what it was before, I'm able to just like move it a little outside of me. But first, it takes the acknowledgement of being like, okay, I'm being consumed by fear energy right now. Like you have to, when you can acknowledge it, that's the only time that you can really do anything about it.
And that's the thing. It's like there's a difference between being afraid of something and being consumed by that fear. And there's also a difference between fear and worry, I think.
Yeah.
And so when our minds are like there could be something that you're afraid of, and that's a very real thing. And so, okay, I see this, and so my fear is waking me up to the fact that I need to change course, or I need to do something, or I need to take an
Mhm.
action or something. But then there's worry that just spins in your head, and nothing good ever comes from it. Ever. We don't protect ourselves. We don't protect the people we love. We don't stop bad things from happening when we worry about them.
Yeah.
But there's really a difference, I think, between those two
Yeah.
things. Like a legitimate thing that's like, oh, I see this thing happening. I don't want this thing to happen, so I have to
That's
do
crazy.
something.
Yeah.
And spinning in that paralysis of I'm worried, I'm worried, I'm worried, I'm worried. That's the thing that just it diminishes us. It robs us of our creativity, of our spirit, of our identity.
Yeah.
Um, that's the
I don't
thing.
know if this is true for you, but with the worrying, when I'm able to catch myself in that spinning and be like, okay, my next step is usually, can I do anything about this?
Yeah. Yeah.
if there's no action I can take, if it is out of my control, if
Yeah.
there's nothing I can do about it, then I
Yeah.
actively choose to redirect my energy or attention. And normally that requires me to like do something physical with my hands.
Yeah.
Normally it is not something on the computer because like sometimes I can put on a show that's comforting to me. Normally it's Harry Potter, and then I can like zone out in a task. But if it's really consuming me, I have to like go do the dishes or clean out a cluttered area. It is usually like cleaning something with my hands, and
Mhm.
I tend to feel better after that. But that's the only thing that breaks the worry cycle for me.
Yeah, I agree. I can do it sometimes by going outside, just like going outside and walking and feeling the ground and looking
Yeah.
at the sky, the trees, and that can help.
Yes.
Just as you were talking, I was remembering that when I first moved back to Kentucky after I had lived in New York for 10 years and I hadn't driven a car when I lived in the
Yeah.
city. And then I came back to car culture. I had all of this really intense driving anxiety, like to the point where I would sit behind the driver's wheel of my car and my legs would shake so badly.
Yeah.
I was shaking so badly, I could not press the pedals. I could not press my gas pedal.
Yeah.
So, I actually went into therapy to deal with driving anxiety, and that was sort of helpful. But what was actually helpful to me was something that I think a lot of people would see as completely delusional, which is I put a little angel clip on my visor. It's a little angel that says, this car is protected by angels,
Yeah.
and it's on my visor. And so I would put it down and I would see that. And I put like crystals and a little finger rosary in
Yeah.
my console. And to this day, I mean, that was decades ago. It's still
Mhm.
in my car
Yeah.
because that helped me so much to just release. It's like, because that's really what it was like, I'm holding on to all of this fear and anxiety, and I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
I can't, I'm not, I don't, I can't do anything about what's going to happen when I'm out there driving. So those little symbols allowed me just to release it and just to say, okay,
Yeah.
I'm just giving it to you, to
There's
someone
another
else.
force holding this
Yeah,
space for me.
yeah, yeah,
I love that. I certainly stand by the totems and trinkets and whatever you need to make you feel that safety and security and redirect your energy and attention to not being afraid or not being in worry or anxiety. Absolutely. I go through periods of time where I use things like that and I don't. Like this morning, Laurelyn and I were talking about angel numbers, and that's something that like comes to me in cycles. Like there's periods of times where I'm like very invested. I don't know why I keep saying
so it's like
that.
the angels are moving you around.
Yeah, maybe someone came into this cookie just then and it was zooming out. I love that. And then there's other times where I'm not paying as much attention to the numbers, but there's something else in my space that's like super relevant.
Mhm.
Um, and then the other thing that's helpful for me with worry or fear, and actually I mostly practice this with other individuals, like, and it happens more frequently with my partner or with my son. I should apply this more to circumstances that provoke fear, but the cord cutting, when I'm feeling consumed by another person's energy that doesn't feel good, I go through the cord cutting process, and that really does help me establish my own energy bubble.
Yeah.
And I I think I'm gonna apply that more when the fear starts to creep in too, because you can certainly cut cords from whatever circumstance or situation or whatever it is that you're feeling afraid of too. Um,
Yeah.
but I
And
guess
cutting
my
cords
oh, go ahead.
doesn't
Sorry.
mean that you don't care or that the love is gone or that you don't,
No.
not at all. Like I think sometimes people are a little bit afraid of cutting cords for that
Yes.
reason.
Yeah,
That's
I just
what
had
it
a
does.
conversation with a community member yesterday who
Mhm.
was feeling, she's like, I need to cut cords, but also I feel bad about doing it.
Mhm.
This I really want you guys to adjust your thinking around this because it is not you doing a disservice to another person cutting cords. When you do that, what you are saying is, I am a sovereign individual. I deserve and am entitled to my own energetic space. Here's my bubble. And you are deserving and entitled to your own energetic space. And when we have our own bubbles, it means that there's not a codependent behavior there. It means that we each get to stand in our own energy and love each other from our wholeness instead of like trying to compensate for one another. So, if you are feeling that call to cut cords, please do it because it only strengthens you and it strengthens them. Now, there may be a period of time where like you wobble or you witness them wobble because the energy was so entwined for so long. But once you give it a little bit of time and you maintain your own energy space and they maintain their own of theirs, stability is found, groundedness is found. It doesn't stay in that place of like, oh, I need to save them or oh, I need to, plug back into them. So it does take a little bit of time of establishing that, but it is not a disservice at all to the other person. And it does not mean that you do not love them. In fact, it's kind of the opposite. It's like,
Yeah.
no, I know that maybe some of this connection is a little bit enabling you
Mhm.
to not move into whatever chapter you need to fully embody. And the same thing for myself. So let me cut those cords so that you can be your whole person and I'll be my whole person. And let's love each other from that space. And that faith go. And that to me is true of our children as well. It's a little bit different when they're like super young. But as they get older, it's important. You have to, you're not going to be around forever, like they have to learn how to stand on their own. They have to learn how to hold their own energetic space. And the more in your wholeness you can be holding space for them from your own energy bubble for theirs, the stronger they'll become. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that's been a circulating conversation as well. And I do have a cord cutting meditation. So I'll get that posted in the community for you guys in case you want. I think it's like 20 minutes and it takes you through the process of cutting cords. So if you want to use that, you're more than welcome to. Um, but yeah, is there anything else on fear or worry or any of that that we want to touch on?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Good.
Well, I hope that that resonated with you guys. And I think more than anything, I would love in the comments if you are watching this, like, has fear felt more predominant for you this week? You don't have to get into the what or why or anything if you don't want to. And did any of these pointers like help or stand out to you? And if so, which one, do you kind of want to explore the most in applying as you move forward through the coming weeks? Because I don't think it's not like this energy is going to let up, like it's going to continue to evolve and be there. And so, like, we have to take responsibility for strengthening ourselves, strengthening our intentions and our actions and how we're handling it as it's showing up so that it doesn't dominate or determine, how we're moving on the path, because it certainly doesn't have to.